We're going to continue this series about a Skyrim-like progression system or skill system. Today what we're going to do is add in the actual skill trees. So for example, in Skyrim you've got destruction, restoration, smithing, etc. And every time that you do something relating to those skill trees, you increase the skill. So we're going to do the same thing here. As we get XP in those skills, they're going to level up, and we'll see how that looks with both the UI and the programming. What's more, we're going to use scriptable objects here, and it's going to be really easy to just plug in new skills. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate a couple of skills here. I'll put in destruction and restoration, let's just say. It'll be really easy for you to pop those things onto your player and see it automatically pop up in the UI. Okay, so we'll write up the program for being able to do that. All right. Today, really, all I want to focus on is getting this one piece of UI done. This one UI element. I want to be able to put in an image with a text. Two texts. I want the name of the skill tree and then the level that it's currently at. And then I'll have another two images, one where it's the background for our level bar and then the level bar itself. We're splitting this because it'll take a little while to implement these two systems. What I'm going to start off by doing is deleting all these scriptable objects that I've created. I'm going to go ahead and delete my skill container that's got that UI in it. Now I'm confident that I can reproduce that. That's why I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And then I'm going to delete the new scripts that I had brought in. Okay. Let's begin with the most important things first. We're going to go ahead and create some new C# scripts, and we're going to call this one skill, and then we're going to call another one the skill UI. So these are actually the skill trees. So for example, destruction, restoration, whatever. All right. This is going to implement pretty much the exact same thing as the skill user as far as the leveling goes. So for right now, I'm just going to copy some of this stuff, and you'll understand why in a second. What I should do right now is refactor this, but for the sake of simplicity, this is what we're going to do. Now I'm going to pull out the perks because we won't have perks for the skill itself. We're going to go ahead and change the name of this to on skill, let's say increase. Okay. On change XP is the same thing. It's fine because it's going to do the next. It's going to tell us that we changed XP and that we need to change the progress bar. Now let's go ahead and just simplify the name of the progress. So that's the progress that we're making towards our next level. And then we're going to go ahead and bring in a few more things for skill. All right. So we've got the XP for next level. All right. So that's saying how much XP do we need in order to level this skill up. And then we've got the XP that we've already got on this level. All right. We'll go ahead and bring in a name. All right. So this is what we're going to name the skill tree. We don't want to use name because that'll overwrite the name on the object. So this inherits from object, and just calling this name with a lowercase n would overwrite the name on object. So let's call this new skill tree, and then we'll have a description. And then we're going to give public access to those things. Properties here, public string name of the skill and the description. Okay, so let's make sure that we have a function for what happens when we level this up. Excuse me, we need a function so that from outside of this we can call it and increase the skill. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and call this increase skill, and we'll pass in XP. So we'll just increase XP. Let's just call this current XP. That's a much better name. Okay, so current XP increases by the XP that we passed in. Now if current XP is greater than or equal to the XP for the next level, then we need to do a bunch of stuff in order to level up. Okay, but for now we're just going to say on change XP. And if that's not null, change XP dot invoke, and we'll pass through the current XP. Now what we want to do is say that if we do level up, then we need to increase our skill level. We will have some rollover XP if current XP is not equal to the XP to next level. So for example, if we need to get to 150 XP and suddenly we get 170 XP from a kill that we just made, then we should have at least 20 XP rollover. All right. So we're going to say float rollover XP equals current XP minus XP for next level. Right. And then what we're going to say is we're just going to increase the XP to next level so that as we level up, it's harder to get. I mean, it's harder to level up, right? So the difficulty for leveling up increases, but this is just a simple calculation that you shouldn't be doing like this. This is just for the sake of prototyping. Okay, so every time we gain a level, we're going to increase the XP to the next level by 100 times the current level. Okay, and then we're going to set our current XP to 0, and then we're going to call increase skill again. All right, so let's say that we're at level 0 and we have to get to the next level we need 100 XP, but suddenly we kill a dragon and we've got 1000 XP. All right, so we're going to increase our level a few times, and by calling increase skill inside of increase skill, we're going to level up the number of times necessary to get to the level that we would get to with that rollover XP. All right. So then we'll say on change level, on skill increase, and we'll pass through our current level. We want to make sure, so I use this question mark and then invoke to make sure that there's actually something listening for the event. On skill increase, I click Control RR to change the name like that. Okay. So I invoke and then I pass through the current level. Okay. Now this is good. This is all perfect for our skill. What we need to do now is have a skill UI, which will show us what our level is, what our XP is, and etc. So let's bring in Unity UI and TextMeshPro. If you don't want to use TextMeshPro, it's fine to use the text in the Unity UI namespace. Okay, so what do we need? We need a skill, and we'll pass that through in initialization, so we don't need to give this any access. I'm sorry, we don't need to give this access to the inspector. Actually, I'm going to go back into Unity, and I'm going to go ahead and go into my canvas here. I'm going to create a new panel, all right, and then we're going to lay a scroll view onto here. I'm going to go ahead and shift those anchors down so that whenever we change the screen size, that'll work for us. So we'll call this the skill tree panel, and then we're going to put in a scroll view here. All right, we're going to model this after Skyrim, so we don't need those scroll bars, and we want to expand the content here. So we're going to make sure that that expands beyond the dimensions of our panel, and we're going to put a horizontal layout group on there. We'll put the things in the middle, and we will use use child scale. Now we're going to put in a new game object, and we will scale that up. Okay, so that's right in the middle of this content panel. So you'll see that move. All right, so I'm centering it up there. And now I'm gonna call this the skill tree container. All right. Now what I want to do is bring in an image, and this will work as the constellations that they have for all the different skills on here. For now, we're just going to put in an image, and I think that'll work just fine for prototyping, and later on we can work out how to do those the constellations if that's what you want to implement in your game. Okay, so in this container I want to go ahead and make these anchors move out to the top portion of this container, and then beneath that I'm going to have my skill name and then the skill level. Okay, and we're going to use the anchors for this as well, so I'll pop that down right there. Oops. So here we're going to have our skill name. I'll make sure that this scales with the screen size, make that pretty big, and I'm going to make it go into the middle here. Let's say skill name. I'm going to pop in my font. So if you didn't see it before, this is Futura condensed medium. Okay, and that's free. Alright, so you can get that online. I'll post a link in the description. I'm going to call this the skill name text, and right beside it I'm going to have another text which is the skill level. Okay, so we can actually keep the anchors at the same height, but we're going to move the min to 0.72 and the max to 1. Alright, so let's just put in a fake level here, and this I think is over here. I'm going to close this so that I can see the example. Okay, so that's right next to the name. Okay, good. I mean, that's not great, but it's not bad. Go back to our skill. Just put this in the middle. That's fine. We'll make it bigger if we can. Just make the minimum bigger than that. Can do that. That's better. Alright, I mean, that'll work fine for now. Okay, so let's call this the skill level text. Okay, now we're going to need two images for the progress bar. So we'll put one image there. This will be the background, and then we need to have a child, which will be the fill image. Okay, so we'll call this background image, and we'll call this skill level bar. Okay, and I've got a gradient level bar here. I'm going to go ahead and scale that out with my, actually I'm going to just press stretch and then I'll zero it out. Alright, perfect. And we're changing that image type from simple to filled, and we're moving it on the horizontal. I always like to start it off at a non-zero, non-1 fill, just so that I know that it's there, and also that when we go into the game, if it's still at that same level, then there's probably an error. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and plan ahead and just put in an image here for the legendary upgrade. Okay, and we'll put that right down at the bottom. I'll actually increase our container, see how this scales. Not great. Okay, so I need to redo the anchors a little bit there, and then we'll bring that image up just under the bar in the center here. We'll make sure that it goes from about 0.4 to 0.6.
Look at that right, and move that up there. Okay, so say 0.42 to 0.58 and zero out, see how it looks. It's not great.
5. Okay, that's slightly better. Okay, we're just going to hide that for now. Call it legendary image. Okay, so that's pretty decent. That's not bad. Alright, now I'm going to make sure that we can't see all the way back. Okay, so that's not looking bad. Not looking great, but not looking bad. So we're going to go ahead and put our skill UI script on there, and then we're going to put in access to all those things that we just put in. So we'll have access to the name, to this level, the fill bar, and then later on we'll put in the legendary image. Okay, but that's different. We don't need that for now. So let's go back into our skill UI. We need to bring in the Unity UI namespace, and then if you're using TextMeshPro like me, we need to bring that namespace in as well. All right. Now I bring in the UI from Unity because we're using an image level bar. We've got our skill name text.
Skill level text.
All right, we're going to have a public void initialize skill tree UI, and then we're going to pass some stuff in there. What we need to pass in is the name of the skill. Actually, I think we could just pass in a skill. It's got all the information that we need on it. So say skill name dot text equals skill dot name. Skill level text equals skill current level. Parse that into a string, and then we'll take the level bar fill amount, and we will make that the skill progress. Right, so that's a 0 to 1 amount, and it's pretty straightforward. We will need to cache the skill. So let's create a private pointer to the skill that we're passing in, and we'll initialize it as null. We'll go ahead and fill it. So this skill equals the skill that we're passing in. Now we're going to listen for those events that we have on there, the on skill increase. We're going to create something called update level, and then we'll have the on change XP, and we will update XP. Okay, so let's go ahead and create those methods real quickly. Private void update level. And then the update skill bar, excuse me, yeah, the XP bar. Update XP, and we're passing in the progress that we've made towards our next level. And we are looking for the fill amount property, and we're going to set that to the progress. Now, when we exit play mode, what we want to do is make sure that we... So whenever we exit play mode, we want to go back, and because this is on a scriptable object, this event, we want to go ahead and unlisten for it. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and save. Now make sure that you go in and on your skill tree container, go to your skill UI script and pass your skill name to the your skill name text to the skill name, skill level text to the skill level, and then your level bar into the level bar. Perfect. That should be a prefab, and you should be good to go. All right, let's go to our player and update the player with our new skills. We're going to create a serialized field for a new list of type skill. Call this skills and instantiate or initialize it, and then we'll give public access to those skills. Good, for now that should work. Actually, what we need to do is invoke the start method, and for each skill that we have, we need to listen for on skill increase, because then we're going to update our perks. So I've got this method increase perks. We're going to call that here. Okay. Right. So every time that we get a skill increase, then we get a perk as well. I think that might be it. Yes. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay. Let's make sure that that's it. I'm gonna create this. I've got this new C# script called all skills underscore UI. We're gonna go into that. This is gonna hold a reference to our player. It's got the UI that we just created, so I'm gonna go ahead and make that into a prefab. That skill tree container UI. We're going to make that into a prefab, and then we're going to have a reference to the transform the content parent. So that's the content on the scroll view. Okay, so all of the skill UI containers are going to be parented to that container, to that content container. So on start, we're going to initialize skills. So for all the skills that the player has, we create these skills objects, and then we iterate through them, and we say we're going to say instantiate as a child of the content parent, and then we're going to put it into that array, and then we're going to get the skill UI component from there, and we're going to initialize the skill tree UI with that skill from the player. So the reason that we create this array of game objects will become known to you guys in the next video. Alright, so I've already created this input controller that allows us to scroll through all of the skills on there. For now, we're just going to do one skill, and we'll see how that works. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back in here. I think we can just press play, and that should work for us. So we should see our skill in there. Nope. So we've got a null reference here. Let me go ahead and take this out of full. So on skill user, we've got a null reference because we don't have a reference to our skills. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my data. Actually, I should mention, this is a huge discrepancy here. I should mention that skill is supposed to be a scriptable object. So we make skill inherit from a scriptable object, and then we're going to give this the create asset menu attribute, and that create asset menu attribute is going to allow us to go in and right click and then create a new skill. Okay, so I'm going into my data folder here. I'm going to create a new skill, restoration, I guess. I'm going to name it so that we can see it, show its name in the in this content container here. And we'll just start it off at 0. We don't need the description, it doesn't do anything yet. So on my player, I'm going to pop the skill on there, and we're going to see that it'll spawn in another skill container right next to this one that says restoration. Okay, perfect. Alright, so now that won't do anything just yet. I've actually got these buttons that I created in the last one. This gives XP to your regular level, but I don't have it giving any XP to any of the skills. So what we're going to do now is go to our skill user, and I've got this method that's invoked by that button where it says kill enemy with skill. So what we're going to try and do here is call one of the skills randomly. So if I've got more than one skill, then I'm going to call one of these skills, and I'm going to say increase skill by XP. Okay, so we're already passing in an amount of XP, and in this case it's 10. So since the player only has one skill, it's going to increase restoration. So we'll see that happen right now. I'm going to go ahead and delete, while we're in play mode, the skill that we're not using. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and allow my test container here, and I'm going to kill stuff with a skill, and I've got a Stack Overflow. Great. Okay, so I just had a Stack Overflow, and the problem with it is huge. If your XP to next level is 0, then our XP to the next level was 0, so anytime that we have our the XP passed in be greater than our XP to next level, then it's going to call this method again. So since it's always greater, anything greater than 0 is always going to be greater than 0, so it's just going to constantly call this over and over again, and that's what caused the Stack Overflow. So we need this to be at least 1, and hopefully scriptable object has an onValidate. It does. So we can use this onValidate to make sure that if XP to next level is less than 1, then we need to get it to be at least 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write in an error message and default this to at least 1. Alright, so that should fix the Stack Overflow. We're going to go ahead and fix this in the inspector real quickly, and we'll see what happens here. Make that restoration. Perfect. Let's press play. So we'll get, we were supposed to get a random amount of XP added to us. Let's make sure that that kill enemy button is actually giving us XP. It's not working. Okay, so another huge problem that I had here is I never increased the skill level. So what we want to do whenever we have more XP than the XP to gain for the next level is we want to increase the level. That's why it's stuck at 0. Okay, let's take another look. Alright, now the level bar is not working, but the current level is. Alright, so the problem is that I'm passing in the current XP as opposed to sending the progress towards that we've gained towards our next level.
Oops.
Now let's go back and take a look at each of the new things that we added and the things that we've changed here. So skill users, one of the things that we changed, we added this list of all the skills that we can change in the inspector, and then we've got a public property for access to that list of skills. In the start method, we listen for the on skill increase so that we can increase perks. And then here in kill enemy with skill, we're going to take a random skill and increase it. Okay. Now, if you're later on, we'll get into finding out what we used, what skill we used, and then going directly to that skill and increasing the XP on that particular skill. Okay. Another thing, we added the skill. Remember that it inherits from scriptable object and that we need this create asset menu attribute in order to be able to right click and create it. So let's take a quick look at that. You can pause here. We'll go into the skill UI. So we have text for the skill name, the skill level, and then we got an image for the level bar, and then we initialize it. We listen for these events. And I know I talked about earlier, I talked about how when we listen for these events, we also need to unlisten. So let's say that we're going to go ahead and cache the skill. So when we get in here, we're going to say this skill equals the skill that we're passing in, and then on destroy or on disable, we're going to say skill.on change XP minus equals update. So we're unlistening for both of those events. Okay. Let's go back to all skills. So this is going to be our holder. It's going to hold all of those skills in there. We don't need this yet. So we'll instantiate all of those prefabs that we had made before, all of those skill containers, and it'll parent them to this content parent, and it will initialize the skill UI for each of the skills on the player. What you have to look forward to in the next video is the scrolling between the different skills. Okay, So we'll scroll through here, and then we'll put in animations where they expand as you select these different skill trees. Okay? Thanks a lot.